Yeah, if we're talking about Africa, so Africa, it's a European concept. It's not a local concept at all. My personal link with Katanga comes to the fact that I was born there, and I grew up there. I went to school there, so it's a province where you have a lot of mineral resources. So when you are in Lubumbashi, even in Katanga, first you have mining exploitation, and then you have people, and then you have some sort of micro society, which is working or living around the big company. So I went to university to study information and communication, and that's what I studied at university. And I was mostly interested by the way that image can be analyzed, can be used in society in order of, how image can be used in society in order to have a communication or a relationship or to create an image or to create. But that came also from the fact that I was a comic books maker, so I wanted to understand more the sense of image, but the sense of image in a story, but and how I can semantically use images to communicate or to create a kind of fiction, started from reality. So, but then I just found that it could be interesting to shoot myself with camera, and then after I can use the films or images that I took with my camera and use them as a reference for the books, the comic books that I'm making. And then after that, I just realized that I can also use photography himself as a narrative, as a fictional, stories, So that's how I came to photography. And I started to make pictures of those landscape, completely abandoned mining area. And from there, I started to think the relationship with the past which belongs to my own history, because I knew or I heard or I was in contact with friends who had parents working in mining company. Even Lubumbashi, firstly it was a mining area, but then they created the city around, Firstly, they created the wide city, and then the other part it was camps for workers, and workers were people who were coming from outside of Katanga province. So some of them were coming from Rhodesia, from Rwanda, from Kasai, and it was a kind of trade, but also deportation in a way, because those people were sometimes took by force and bring in the mining as sometimes as prisoners, sometimes as I can say slaves in a way. That was just my own story. But then after that, when we went to the communication service of the mining, we wanted to know more if they have documentation. And they had a lab with a lot of negatives abandoned, so no one wanted to use them. And we went to see pictures. And I saw pictures belongs to the colonial period that I've never seen anywhere, any place, and I've never learned anything about this past. So, So I have my past, but then I discovered another one. Then I decided to make pictures uh, of new landscapes that I discovered and to try to make them in confrontation with archival pictures in order to confront the past and the present, where I think there is a link, but there are links, but there are also yeah, there are also it's a kind of coming back to the same point, to the starting point in a way. It's like trying to create a puzzle with different pieces. It's like creating my own story or with different stories in a way. So the prisoner is in front of us and is looking to us with his own, but with a kind of identity without shifting, without there is a kind of presence, but at the same time it belongs to the past, but is in front of us and is looking to us, but at the same time is exploited or is in prison. He's a prisoner. I think reality has also a kind of complex relationship with past, present, now, yesterday, or today. This can bring me to talk about why I did like pictures of the skulls that I discovered in the Natural Museum in Brussels. So I found this skull, and the skull belongs to a king from Kalemi, which is another city in Katanga. And he was killed like in 1890 by a Belgian captain who wanted to take the land as a property of a Belgian colony. And he was killed and decapitated. And his skull was brought to Europe, in Belgium, and it was shown to people, but without all the aspect of the story, all the aspect of violence, all the aspect of exploitation, or like. But when you show it in a kind of auditorium with students and anthropologists who are trying to learn more about an object. So the skulls became just an object, and when I found it in the Natural Museum, it was something without story, just with a small, a white piece, just with number and Lusinga, and that's all. But the same object, as I found it, abandoned, it was shown also in the museum as an object of same level with mask and all the mask that was brought in Europe. And when I saw and I found it in a Natural Museum, it was left somewhere without more information, but the same object, if you bring it back in its own context, like in Kalemi, or if you bring it to, it has another meaning. Because for Congolese people, the dead are not dead at all, they're still with us in a way. But for the Natural Museum, it's just an object. It's it's still the same reality from, I can say, from the colonial period until now. It's still the same reality. Maybe even, yeah, it's still the same reality in a way that people still linked with mineral resources generally. And this is the first production that can come out from Katanga. So people are still linked, but then it's just the system that are changing. You know, like we had a colonial period where we had an enterprise running everything. Same thing during the dictatorial period, but now it's completely um, you have entrepreneurs, private sectors, and everything. But mining still exists, and people need it, and the economy is just around the mineral resources. It's the same thing with Congolese also. There are people who are working in tents, but I want to make portraits of them, but I've never put their names. It's a way of saying that those people are living, they are producing, they are working, but we are not looking at them at all. We are not looking at them as humans. We are just thinking that, you know, they are, they are object. It's because there is something wrong in the system. So, what is quite complex now, so it's the fact that you don't know who's exploiting who and how it's working. So it's quite complex than during the colonial period.